TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, bring it higher.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for Fight Night Fortunes with good friend and colleague, Mr. Lou Finocchiaro. Go follow him on X or Twitter, as we like to call it, at Gamb. Go check out his website, of course, at gamblu.com. UFC 308 Abu Dhabi. For all you West Coast people, you better not make it too late of a night, as the fight started at 7 a.m. So high octane violence and Cocoa Puffs and maybe a mimosa to start the morning. I don't know what Lou's plan is, but at least it's 10 a.m. back east here. Shout out to our proud sponsor and partnerships. Of course, it's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It's free. Atlanta Steak and Seafood, Terry Smith, second to none. Head on over to Facebook. Introduce yourself to Terry, and then while you're there, head on over to Atlanta Steak and Seafood. Any order buying and purchasing seafood till the end of Friday, use the promo code seafood20. That's a box of lobster tails, salmon, whatever he has, you have with a $20 promo. And of course, Viva Tequila Seltzer. Talk to CT today. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. Try one. Let's bring him in. He's got to be fired up. Mr. Lou Finocchiaro. How are you, Lou?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Thanks again for having me in. It's October. I keep chiming on October. I love playoff baseball. Between playoff baseball and the NFL, there's enough integrity in those sports right now for a gambler to really have his way. But now you want to add NBA, NHL, the UFC, there's ancillary sports. It's really a great time of the year. I'm tickled to be hunting in my own particular sports and sharing that with you.
Well, I don't think it would be fair, at least, to say, do you have a dog in the fight, or do you have a rooting interest or take in the World Series that starts tomorrow between the Yankees and Dodgers?
You know, it doesn't often take this long. I rode for a while early on. It looked to me like it was Detroit and the Mets that had the magic, and I won some money betting on them game by game. Never really had any futures until there were 8 teams, I think, in each division, or 4. Basically, what I did was I started to convince myself, being an NL West person, that the Dodgers might be able to do this. Of all the years when they win $1.06 and then stumble all over their tongue, for lack of a better analogy, this was the year that but it took me well into the playoffs. So I took exactas: Dodgers over Tigers, Dodgers over Mets, Dodgers over Guardians, and Dodgers over Yankees. I made 4 bets and I staggered them. I end up with about $400 in bets. But the big one is Dodgers over Yankees, which pays a really nice price. It was way better than had I just gone and taken the Dodgers to win the World Series. So I propped my way into a really advantageous position with that Dodger play. I have to pay off, $400 in debts, but I got a couple hundred on the Dodgers for, I think, 1,800 bucks. So there's enough money there for me to pay the 200 off and still walk away happy, provided the Dodgers take care of business. Now I have options. I can come back now and the Yankees plus a game and a half in the series and try and middle and get both bets. And I'm not out of the realm of doing that. I love to do that, or take just a little bit of bet on the Yankees. And if I can get it to 7 games and the Dodgers win at home, I get the Dodgers and the Yankees, and I'm a greedy, I get them both. So I love playoff baseball because there's nobody going to Scottsdale, Arizona the night before the game and going to South Scottsdale swinging from the chandelier, getting all lit up. These kids are chasing a dream, and there's no hanky-panky. Baseball in August, every one of those players is down in South Scottsdale swinging from chandeliers, and that's why I don't play regular season baseball.
Yeah, we read the market real well. Before the start of the tournament, we took in Jeffrey Bentz's exacta odds, and I too was a believer in the Tigers. I too was a believer in the Mets, and as you said, the NL West. Of course, we had some mid-season nice tickets on San Diego, but we put together the exacta. I think it was plus 1,300 if the Dodgers beat the Yankees, and plus 1,350 if the Yankees beat the Dodgers. So
yeah, you got it before me. Very well. That's strong. You got it well before me. It took me longer to figure it out.
Well, again, it was that one swing, and of course we did have a Yankee Padre Yankee too. Like you said, you still got to, you go. It's like this: the golf tournament with 152 golfers. You run to the window and you want to hold that one golden ticket. I picked the one. There's only one winner, so it's like you got to take your swings, as you know, in this business. We build up that portfolio and we make sure we have the sides covered. That's the end game, if we're lucky enough, Lou.
In golf, I'm a top 20 guy. It's not my sport. I just want to cash a ticket. I never play a guy in golf on the head. And you can tell, because if I was smart, I probably would have taken something on the Yankees beating the Dodgers too, but I didn't back myself up like you guys did. That said, when you guys made those bets, the odds were so long you could put, small, moderate wagers on each and end up really good. So congratulations. That's what's probably going to happen.
Yeah, and I was looking at the numbers this morning, and the numbers say this is going to end in 6. Well, we know if it does end in 6, it's going to be in LA. But, with that 2-3-2 series, anything can happen. The low number of 130. You can get the Yankees at plus 110, 115, depending upon the shop. It's going to be a hell of a series. It's been the year of Ohtani versus the year of Judge and Soto. But in baseball, as you know, it's one of those guys that come out of nowhere, whether it's a Kike Hernandez, Mookie Betts, or someone. So excited for the Fall Classic.
Well, all due respect to the East Side, I think the National League this year was much stronger, more complete division than the American League. And for that reason, I don't think it's out of the question that the Dodgers steamroll the Yankees.
Listen, everyone wanted to fire Dave Roberts year after year after
year.
Right.
That's a good point, too.
I don't think he's ever had a better month coaching than in this past month. What he has done with those bullpen games, pulled the right moves here and there. He's had a great month, and I think when the dust settles, I do think it's the Dodgers. So,
well, we'll see. We'll see. It should be great. I agree with you. I can't wait.
Before we get to 308, I want to give you some props here, because what a performance by Fluffy. What'd you think of Fluffy last weekend?
Well, I said tortoise and the hare, and I don't know if I can give you a better analogy. You could see the size of Pereira and the might and the fury, and that had to be quelled. And Fluffy was the guy to do it. He was in his face with front pressure from beginning to end, wasn't afraid, and went right after the bully. And after about 10 minutes of the bully being bullied, bully curled up. It took 5 rounds, and Pereira didn't really curl up. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez earned that fight. And I was tickled by that because he opened 200. I said he should be 200. And we catch him at 130, 135 per this show. So that's a good opportunity. We took the opportunity. We hit that opportunity. There's others that will miss, but it's nice to hit one or two, especially for our loyal listeners.
UFC 308 Abu Dhabi, 14 fights, as you said in your sneak peek podcast, which is every Monday at Gamb. Lou, please go listen to that every Monday. And then on Friday after the weigh-ins, you can get the Belt Business podcast as well. 14 fights, 10 Muslim athletes, 9 fighters over 170 or more in the big octagon. But you talked in your podcast about athletes, and this is not the big guys that are just you're talking, this potentially could be high octane offense here.
Well, what we didn't have the last 2 weeks was name recognition, and we had desperation. We didn't have anyone outside the top 2 fights really competing for positioning in a division and titles. They were all journeyman fighters. Now we're getting elite fighters. Of those Muslim fighters, they're all Dagestani vice grips, and they're all, many of them, pitted against people that are non-Dag. There's only one Russia versus Russia fight there, and so you're going to have to watch and monitor that crowd. But you're going to have a great fight card. 9 of the fights with big, huge, athletic, driven, elite fighters, and that's what's going to be great about you. We're going to see a lot of skill, and I would just say be careful with make sure you know which ones are the Muslim fighters. But today we'll cover a few fights, and let's see what we got here. Nardiev Silva, Russian Brazil. No greater hatred in mixed martial arts than that. Murphy Ige, there's no Dagestani or no Russian in that one. Then obviously with Ankalaev is the Muslim fighter, and then none in the final event. But we'll get into a couple of them here, and they'll be great.
Before we dive into the 4 that you're going to break down here, I just wanted the listeners, and I'm more curious as well, the Whitaker and Kazmat fight. Thoughts on that one? I mean, I'm a big Kazmat fan, or I should say, when he was coming up, I looked at him. I was like, how anyone gets into the ring or octagon with this guy? You got to be. I mean, I would run for the hills. He's an assassin in my eyes. And now fighting Robert Whitaker. I mean, he's minus 245. I listened to the podcast. I heard you say you think Whitaker here, there's some good value here still with Whitaker.
Yeah, he's plus 210 now. He was plus 205 at the time that we did the podcast. And listen, it all comes down to Chimaev, who since his last fight, which was Usman at middleweight, Whitaker's fought 3 times at middleweight against elite people, lost the championship in a clunker. He fought poorly and then won his next 2. The key to me is that Khamzat looked like a maniac and was sawing through people at 170. His only 2 fights at 85 were against Mearshart, a journeyman, and Usman, a welterweight, a 170er that came up to fight him. And that was a close decision where Khamzat tired late in the rounds. He did the same thing in his other fight with Gil Burns. Now you get him in a 5-round fight against a legitimate guy like Whitaker, who's fought the elite, been a top 5 middleweight for 10 years, this guy. He's fought Yoel Romero. He's fought every kind of threat. He's seen Khamzat before, and his plan here is to weather 7, 8, 10 minutes, get this thing into the 3rd round, and when Khamzat starts to suck his gas, like he has before, Whitaker's going to kick it in. I feel strongly that Whitaker's in good position. I also feel strongly with a total listed here that many people are looking for Khamzat to come out and blow it out and try and knock Whitaker out early. It's happened before. That's what Khamzat's going to try and do, and that's how that fight sets up.
Well, let's go
at least in my opinion.
And I love your opinion. So let's go to the 4 fights that you're going to break down. You said Naradov and Silva. I'm on DraftKings as we speak. Currently, right now, Naradov minus 180, Bruno Silva plus 150, over under 2.5, Lou minus 140, the over 2.5 now at plus 110.
Yeah, here's a fight, a Russian against a Moroccan, actually. The Moroccan, though, is a Muslim. That's Nardiev. Bruno Silva, the Brazilian. Bruno Silva, the reason I like him here as an underdog is in his last fight, he fought Chris Weidman, was doing well, and he really got jobbed in the fight on a number of occasions with low blows and eye pokes. And he really had the fight taken from him. That made him 3 losses in a row, and he's better than that. He's primarily a striker, knocks guys out, has power, and I look for him to show up here. He knows he's being tagged as the patsy here for the Moroccan fighter. Now, the Moroccan fighter was in the UFC, had moderate results, got kicked out, had to make a few fights back on the regional scene to get back for this opportunity. He's fighting closer to home, but Silva's focused and alive here. I like Silva, especially at plus 150. He was plus 130 or so earlier in the week. So my advice here would be patient. Watch, see how high this goes, because they're clearly betting the hometown kid here with the V at the end of his name.
And that's a great point there, Lou, as well. When you have a dog in the fight and you see money keep coming in on the favorite, just sit and let them keep pounding the favorite and then watch your dog go from 150 to 60 to 65 to 70. You get a little more meat on that bone, correct?
Well, correct. But then you go to bed, you have a couple beers, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning and it's 125. So, I mean, you have to be on top of it. Number one, you got like a fisherman, you got to know how to twitch that lure in front of that fish a little, get a little more, but eventually you got to set the hook. And I usually have a threshold when I see a plus number like Whitaker earlier in the week. Once he hit 200, that's a go. It could go to 300. Okay, I'll buy more. But I don't think the number's right where it is. And so there we are.
All right, we'll go to the next fight here on the card. Let me pull up the odds here for us here.
Yeah, Murphy's going to be 240 or 260. Ige's going to be plus 200. And the total in that fight's going to be close to, it's going to be a 2.5 for sure. And I got over 2.5 minus 345. So
how about this one? How about this? We are currently looking at Murphy minus 290, Ige plus 235. The over 2.5 is now ballooned to minus 475, and the under plus 325.
Yeah, so they and the market is looking for a decision here between two really adroit, capable 145-pound fighters. We know Ige because he's the maniac that lives in Vegas, and they were without a fight a month ago or 2 months ago in June, and Diego Sanchez was looking for a fighter after 2 different weight agreements with Brian Ortega, who got sick. Ige comes in on 3 hours' notice, saves the show, and in loss, and he looked good in his loss. Probably won the 3rd round against a killer guy. Probably in his loss gains popularity, notoriety, etc. So Ige shows up. He starts to get a little bit of love against a guy in Murphy who's from England and understated. He's got the English accent. He's not a blabbermouth or a crap talker. And so I see this thing opening Murphy minus 192. Now he's what? Minus 290?
Murphy right now as we speak is minus 290.
So he's gone up a full point. And I have to say, I think I agree with that action on Murphy. Taller, longer, they're about the same age. Ige is effective from the top 10 down. He struggles mightily because of lack of size and reach with the top 10. And I believe Murphy, with this fight, will prove that he is a top 10 fighter, because I think he gets by Ige more than likely in decision. And that's how I would probably approach this fight. Murphy decision. At DraftKings currently, you might even get a plus price out of that, to be quite honest with you.
All right, the third fight on our card. Let's see what we got here. Oh, now you're gonna have to help me. How about Magomed versus, is it Rakik? Did I say that one correct?
Alexander Rakic is fighting Magomed Ankalaev. You know, I always have to put those linguistic tongue twisters in there for you. I mean, that's my sport, Jeff. I love to see you wrestle with those sharks in shallow water with those names. So this, again, a one-sided fight. Ankalaev, the Muslim, Rakic, an Austrian fighter, known best for his last fight against Yuri Prohaska, where these two guys stood there and threw anvils at one another. Eventually, Yuri won. That was Rakic's first fight off a long layoff. He's coming back after a warm-up, and he's focused. He wants to upset Ankalaev and is convinced that he can do it. He's a little taller, a little longer, going to need to keep it standing. Ankalaev is a vice-grip Russian wrestler who turns to his wrestling at all times when fights get close, and why wouldn't he? It's a great advantage to have. That said, the UFC almost seems to be punishing this kid by not giving him a shot at current champion Pereira, because he seems to win by decision most of the time. Well, he's fighting top 3 and top 4 guys all the time. It's not that easy to just take those guys out. So I feel for Ankalaev, who I think is getting stiffed a little, but the UFC saying, yeah, look impressive and you get a title shot. So both these guys are coming out here to look impressive. That I could see a finish in this one. And for that reason, in this fight, I'm looking hard at either the under 2.5 rounds, or I would, because that's a plus price, or I maybe get less greedy and just maybe the fight does not go to decision, would give you a little less plus money, but you'd still get a plus return. That's kind of how I feel about that fight.
And currently on DraftKings right now, the under is now plus 160, and the favorite is now minus 410, and you can get plus 320 on Rakic there as well. We get to the main event here. The Mouth Topuria versus, I call him Mad Max Holloway. Currently Topuria minus 230, Max plus 190, over under 4.5. minus 135, the over plus 105. 5-year age difference here. Not a lot of respect for some people with Max at this point, but your thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, this is one I've gone round and round on. I don't know what to make of it. Mostly, the price on Topuria scares me. Holloway is 5 years older and arguably a little older than that, based on how he's been in the UFC since he's 20. He's been in wars, but he's fought the elite in a couple different divisions. Never been finished. Topuria, younger, faster, quicker. And so we saw Max last, as he's fighting this fight at 145. We saw him last at 55 against Gaethje, and he made Gaethje look like Frankenstein. Max was so fast. So we have that in our mind. You got to take it out, because Topuria is going to be the quicker, faster man in this fight. So you can't apply that to this one, I don't think. And Max fought Volkanovski 3 times. And in 3 really two razor close decisions that could have gone either way, and one that was clearly Volk. I look at Topuria as a charged up, maybe better version of Volk. Same size, same wrestling capability, maybe better because Topuria grew up with a Greco-Roman background. We just haven't seen him use it. He's fast with his hands, but he's ultra powerful. And so that's why I keep going back and forth. I don't like Topuria's mouth and attitude. And I think it's a little bit of a tell that he's flapping so much and trying to piss Max off. And Max just keeps saying, let's wait for Saturday. Let's wait for Saturday. I love the price on him, but I don't know if I can go there. I tend to like the over 4.5, but I don't think I'm going to go there. I think that sometimes when you don't know and you go back and forth, you just decide this ain't the fishing hole for me. I'm going to go back over where I was catching big ones. And I think I'm going to be shopping in other fights other than this one, because I'm not sure if I can really feel good about either side, because I feel good about either side.
Well, as I said in the intro, everyone, West Coast, 7 a.m., wake up with the UFC. Make sure you have an earlier bedtime so you're ready at 7 a.m. for the start of the prelims. Back east, 10 a.m. Next week, myself and Lou will be here Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon on West Coast time, as we will be doing our Fight Night Fortunes then. The scroller's been going the whole time. They know on X or Twitter to find you at Gamb Lou, but we always end the show with you in the octagon telling everyone where your website is, what you have to offer, Lou.
I have strong opinions to offer, and you go to gambloo.com to get them. Navigate through there when you got a few extra minutes. If you got questions, Lou at gambloo.com. I'm here to try and help. Jeffrey, I want to just say thank you so much to you as well, Elijah, who works behind the scenes, make us look good. And I really enjoy this show and love breaking down fights with you each week.
Well, we love our Thursdays. Next week, our Wednesdays, of course. To everyone watching and listening, shout out to Mr. Berry himself. Elijah, we couldn't have done it without you. To everyone else, be back here at 5 o'clock Eastern. Ron Marmolewski to break down some college and NFL. Until then, we will see you soon.